Hi everybody, welcome back to the series on productive rehearsal process. So this is part 4 and we're talking about finding the emotional truth. So a lot of actors hear that and they think that it means digging up your own personal wounds, reliving your own trauma, or pulling out painful personal memories. So I don't teach that. I don't endorse it. It's not sustainable, it's not safe, and it's not necessary. Now, I want to be clear. So that doesn't mean that your own memories and emotional experiences are not useful, because of course they are. They are actually extremely necessary because they're the main thing that give you the ability to relate, they give you the ability to empathize, and to connect with what the character is dealing with. But that's a little bit different than assuming that when you're in the moment as the character, you should be thinking your thoughts. That I don't agree with. You're supposed to be in the dramatic moment of the character. You're supposed to be in the imaginative, fake circumstances of the character. And you can't do that if your thoughts about your life are invading that scene. So we're going to use what we have, the knowledge that we have, the empathy that we've built, the connection to people in the human condition from everything that we've experienced in order to find our way to the character, right? But we'd be ridiculous to assume that we have all the same memories and everything that the character has gone through. So just remember that when you act, it's not supposed to be you. It's supposed to be something believable. It's not supposed to be real, right? It's supposed to be a believable, imaginary circumstance. So believable means living truthfully in the imaginary circumstances of the character. So to do that, we have to build that bridge from you to it. We have to build a bridge across. A bridge from you to the life of the person that you're playing. A bridge to the life that you have actually never lived. So we're going to explore how to access emotional truth using imagination, because the imagination is limitless, repeatable, and keeps the work healthy. So the first exercise to find the bridge is what I've called the stream of consciousness exercise. So you'll get a notebook. You will set a timer. I usually time my students at about a minute of rounds of this. So let it vary, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. And what you do is you just start writing without editing and without stopping. You write down everything that comes to your mind on any topic. And you don't censor it. You live in that moment and let your imagination wander about the topic. So in my book, I give a lot of examples of this and topics that I use. Then after doing this as yourself, you switch and you write as the character. I then recommend you stop the writing and let the stream become a stream of speaking out loud. This is not meant to be some kind of polished improvisation, some polished writing sample. It's a way of opening the channel between imagination and emotion. The freer you are, the more alive the character's inner world becomes. So you activate that deep dive into whatever that topic is, and it starts to let your connection to it flow. You start by writing, you open it up into a speaking, and then you eventually just stop when the inspiration to continue on that thought runs out. What you then have is something that it now becomes the opening up of those muscles. Your muscles have started firing because you went on that stream, right? Your connection to the person started to open up. Your connection to their emotional life started to open up because you started the stream. It is not something that you're going to look at and go, oh, I'm going to use what I just wrote there, or I'm going to use that thing that I said. We live in these believable moments as people based on whatever's happened to us in our lives, and we've built up our own emotional life based on our muscles and our memories of stuff. We don't have any memories for the character. We don't have any experiences for the character. So they're going to borrow ours, right? But for the ones that they cannot borrow, we have to build an emotional experience within the muscles. So once your brain gets activated and once your heart gets connected to what you're saying, those things now become part of the character's thought process, and not because you designed them to be, but because you experienced them while saying them out loud or writing them down. And even cooler than that is that you'll all of a sudden start having these inspirations based on what you said or what you wrote. Something that came to you and like, I didn't know I was thinking that as the character. I didn't know the character would have said that. I didn't know she would have thought that or he would have thought this. That happens because you just allowed it to flow. So now we're going to talk about subtext, and that's what's underneath the words, subtext. In real life, people rarely say exactly what they mean, right? We talk around things, we hide things. That's what makes us human, and that's what makes human behavior rich. A great rehearsal exercise is to say your subtext out loud, either instead of your lines or on top of your lines. So you take your scene, you run your dialogue, where you say the actual dialogue, then you run it again, where every line is either replaced with the character's inner truth or the inner truth gets to be tagged on to it, right? So your line is, how was your day? And instead you might say, I'm desperate for you to notice me, right? So this exercise feels a little strange at first, but it does help you discover what's really fueling the scene, and it gets thrown out there into the world for your character to hear it and experience it. So another way to access your emotions is to trigger them. A lot of sensory stimulus can do that, and sometimes we need a spark to just light that emotional engine, right? So that's where sensory stimulus comes in. Music is a great sensory stimulus. Anything from allowing one particular song or type of song or genre to get into your character's psyche and open them up or take you someplace imaginatively. Creating playlists for your character is also great, specifically to scenes or moments that they have or memories that they have. So music's a really great trigger for opening up emotional pathways, and I highly recommend it in your prep. To be used, when you are rehearsing your script, to be used before you have your audition, before you hop onto set. You don't overdo any of these. You don't overindulge. These are supposed to be triggers. They're supposed to be sparks, and music is a great spark. You know that from just listening to music yourself. Pictures and images are great. They just collect visuals that resonate with the character's world. Photographs, paintings, textures, colors, things that could have been their memories or could have been their people or could have been where they're from. Um, you open up a magazine or you pull something up online and you see a picture of something that emotionally sparks you and triggers you. Well, it's going to do that for your character as well. So if you're sparked by pictures and images, find some that feel your character. Create a scrapbook, create a diary, or even just something you can flip through real quick on your phone to find something that engages you emotionally. So wardrobe, of course, is a stimulus, right? It's an external stimulus. Trying on a single pair of clothing, jacket, shoes, scarf, can change your physicality and it can unlock new feelings in you. These are tools that are not about forcing emotion; they're about setting conditions where your emotions can naturally arise from your imagination. And how many times when you were a kid did you play dress up and you became something, right? You put on the clothes of somebody else or the time period of something else, or just the scarf that smells like somebody you remember, or the jewelry that makes you feel very fancy, and it triggers something in you. The heels that you either love or hate, the dirty boots that make you feel grounded or used to belong to your dad. Wardrobe is great. If it's too tight, how does it feel? If it's too loose, how does it feel? If it's so elegant that it just makes you feel beautiful, what does the wardrobe do for you? And it doesn't have to be a costume for your auditions or a costume for your rehearsal. We're not trying to design costumes. We're trying to evoke and unlock feelings. A lot of actors use journaling. It's another really powerful tool for actors. It doesn't work for everybody. Not everybody likes to journal. Not everybody feels connected to writing. But writing journal entries as your character works for so many people. What did they do that day? What are they longing for? What are they hiding? Journaling about things in their lives and things that don't necessarily appear in the script, but that you know are implied as part of their life. It helps you expand on that backstory and expand on that history of that character when you start to write about them. How do I feel about my mother today? How do I feel about my father today? How do I feel about that date that I went on, or that thing that I failed at? To get those emotions going, we engage in their inner thoughts in as if we are them when we're writing it. So getting into that type of a practice, again, it doesn't work for everybody. It's not what everybody likes to do. It can let you live in their world without dragging your personal past into it, because you're using what you're now imagining their past and present to be. The more you journal, the more natural it starts to become to think and feel like the character if you're a journaler. So I'm a fan of mantras. This is not doesn't work for everybody, and for some people it does take time for this to kind of grasp the concept of the use of the mantra. Mantra is a simple, repeatable phrase that captures the essence of what the character believes or needs. So, for example, if your character is super insecure, the mantra could be, "I don't want him to see me fail." If your character is really driven by love, then the mantra is, "If I lose her, I lose myself." A lot of times a mantra does have to do with self-worth. It's very triggering for a lot of people, self-worth and identity. Mantraing is a verb I'm making up, mantraing on not being able to accomplish, not being able to affect somebody, not being able to get what you want. So repeating the mantra silently before you start a scene, out loud during rehearsal, helps anchor yourself into an emotional truth. And mantras, I found, work particularly well on set for people, particularly well when needing to engage immediately, or if you're on, way down on however many takes you've been doing that night, and you need to refresh the emotion. Sometimes I tell people that the mantra is like what's on your t-shirt, right? If you had a slogan about your emotions, what would it read on the shirt? So you need to remember that the use of stream of consciousness writing to free your imagination, and the exploration of subtext by rehearsing it out loud, and bringing in sensory stimulus like music and images and wardrobe, and keeping a journal for your character's voice, and creating the mantras to center your emotional core. These things don't require you to mine your personal pain. Your imagination is enough. Your imagination is enough. It's powerful. It's safe. And it allows you to honor the story and the character with freedom. So this is a really important note, everybody. Emotional availability takes time. Your character can only work with the body, heart, and mind that you bring into the room. If you're blocked in a certain area emotionally, the character is likely going to be blocked there too in some way. That's not a flaw. It's just where you are at that moment. Now, I do find it interesting that some people feel like they get into character and it's easier. They don't have the block when they're in character. Some way they can sort of get through it through a character's journey where they can't get through it in their own life. And that does happen. So it isn't always that if you're blocked on a specific thing, so will your character. But very often we share those blocks with our character. Very often the character is struggling with stuff that we also are struggling with, because it is using this instrument as the tool, right? So just remember that emotional availability is training a muscle. You don't get strong biceps after one workout. You have to train them consistently. So the same is true for emotional truth. The more you practice stream of consciousness and subtext exercise and journaling and sensory stimulus, and the more flexible we become. But we don't become stronger at these things because we think it into existence. You have to rehearse. You have to have material. You have to have good material in your hands that feeds you to use. Okay? So give yourself permission to be patient. Train your muscles. Over time, you will find you can step deeper in, and you can be richer and more truthful in places without forcing it and without faking it. Okay? All right. So that is productive rehearsal part 4. If you want to go deeper into any of these ideas, I wrote about them extensively in my book, Do the Thing You Can't Take Back. In it, I do break down emotional truth, subtext, imagination work, practical rehearsal techniques in full chapters. So you will find step-by-step guidance. You will find journaling prompts and the kind of tools that help you strengthen those emotional muscles over time. So get the book, Do the Thing You Can't Take Back, and keep checking back here. And listen, one of the best things you can do is go back through these videos to remind yourself. We've done a lot on rehearsing. It's a process. You're supposed to be building your process for your work, right? All right, keep it up. Keep building it, and I'll see you on the next one.